to that story that Natalie mentioned on the front page of the Burger this morning. A 44-year-old woman, Fazila Swats, fatally mauled to death by her own two dogs, believed to be pit bulls, at her home in Mitchell's Plain. The attack happened in her backyard. Reports saying that neighbors tried desperately to intervene. Witnesses describe the dogs as extremely aggressive, with reports of previous biting incidents. The SPCA, despite, of course, the efforts to remove or get the dogs off her, that lady, Fazila Swats, unfortunately passing away in hospital because of her injuries. The family surrendered the dogs to the SPCA, who then had the dogs euthanized. Belinda Abraham is with the Cape of Good Hope SPCA. Let us cut straight to the chase, Belinda, in terms of dangerous breeds. These incidents again triggering calls for bans on certain breeds. What's the SPCA's perspective here? Is this just about pit bulls specifically, or about dangerous ownership across breeds? Good morning.
Good morning to you, Lester, and good morning to all the listeners. And I have to say, what an awful incident. And of course, extend our condolences to the family. This is incredibly sad. And for the most part, incidents like this are preventable. Any dog can become aggressive or attack under certain circumstances. And of course, a dog's behavior is influenced by many factors. And those could be genetics or breeding, their upbringing, their training, socialization, their temperament. So the list is fairly extensive. But I think what we are seeing, and what is creating, a lot of the problem, is the fact that how are people coming to own pit bulls? There is far too much informal breeding within certain areas where people are potentially breeding these dogs for the purposes of aggression. So I think that is a huge problem. To answer your question on the breed-specific legislation, it is something that I think has been called for and something that has been researched. And what I will say is that it doesn't work. So historically, and in countries where this has happened, they're not seeing it being as effective as initially thought. So it's not really going to work. What I do think Cape Town needs is potentially a register of pit bull owners and a lot more control around the breeding thereof.
Power breeds, and pit bulls are considered one of these power breeds. They come with a certain expertise needed by the owners, and we wonder whether all people have the particular expertise to train but also handle certain breeds. Shouldn't this be part of the conversation? Just like I would need a license to drive a vehicle, or I would need a license and a particular competency, for example, to own a firearm, there should be some sort of test, a means. Shouldn't there be something similar, whether it be a house visit where there's enough space for a dog to show that you have undergone some form of canine training to prove that you in fact are competent to have one of these power breeds?
So I always say, that the Peter Parker principle applies to dog ownership, and specifically with power breeds, because with that great power comes great responsibility. So if you are considering getting a pit bull or any type of power breed, you need to know that you are 100% responsible. You need to be able to know and understand the needs of the breed, and you need to cater for those to prevent incidents like this. And, we don't understand the circumstances of the attack, but it's so important that people train their dogs, that they use positive reinforcement when they're doing so, because you can't undertake training with forceful or unkind methods. And of course, also for people to remember that South African law holds dog owners responsible for their pets' actions. So there is legislation, the Animals Matters Amendment Act, and of course your negligence in terms of your dog attacking somebody else could find you in very hot water with the courts.
And of course, I reiterate that we're not blaming this poor woman for her own unfortunate death. But if it was someone else, if it was someone's child, if it was a neighbor's child, then she as the owner would have been held criminally responsible for the actions of her pets, wouldn't she?
Yes. I also, I'm so saddened by this incident because how traumatic for everybody concerned, including those that were trying to prevent the attack.
Yeah.
And I would like to just give a few tips, if I may, to say that, beating a pit bull that's attacking a person is likely not to have that desired result of discouraging them from attacking. It's probably going to have the opposite effect. This is an incredibly stoic breed. So if you're ever in this unfortunate position, you need to curl into a ball on your knees and you need to cover exposed areas like your neck just by putting the arm that you don't predominantly use over them. And if you're witnessing an attack of this nature, then get some really cold water, throw it over the dogs or startle them with a very loud noise. And then you have to be ready to place a barrier between the person that's been attacked and the dogs. So you're going to have to be creative, look around for what you can use for this purpose, and of course then stay calm, because that could save somebody's life.
Belinda Abraham, Cape of Good Hope, SPCA. I do know that responsible owners are incredibly proud and incredibly loving of their animals, and I don't take that away. But then again, I stress responsible owners. I, for one, maintain a wide berth when I see someone with a particular power breed, whether it be on the prom, whether it can be in a public space. If I know that people have power breeds at their home and I have my children around, we're not going into the backyard. I'm sorry, that's my decision. But I know that they are responsible owners, but I want to put a question to you. For the people who aren't as responsible, do you think particular power breeds should be legislated in some way, a ban, some sort of means to show that you are adequately capable of housing and training certain animals?